Put Duz in your washing machine, finest Duz you've ever seen. Figure and use now when you sing. D-U-Z does everything.
And now Duz brings you The Guiding Light, created by Erna Phillips.
Dr. Hewitt, Ross said it wouldn't take long for him to examine Chucky.
Don't be impatient, Mrs. White. Sit down. Try to relax.
You can't possibly know what came over me when I heard Chucky say, Mother. Open his eyes. I want to go to him. He must know I'm with him every minute.
I've tried to tell you. He didn't recognize you.
I won't believe that. I can't. May I go to him now?
Dr. Bowling asked that you stay here in the waiting room. He won't be too much longer, I'm sure.
Yes, I suppose I am impatient. But no one knows what this waiting has been. Day in, day out. Night after night. Oh, I know the waiting is over. I'm sure it is. Don't you think Chucky looked well, considering?
He seemed a bit flushed to me.
Flushed? Well, perhaps a little, but it seemed only natural to me. Oh, I do wish Ross wouldn't be so long. Dr. Hewitt, I'm sorry. It isn't necessary for you to stay with me. I promise I won't go to Chucky's room.
If I didn't think you would. I have a patient I brought in this evening. That's how I happen to be here this hour of the morning. A young boy, a little older than Chucky. He went on a hunger strike, then decided he wouldn't take any liquids. Even though his parents didn't think it necessary, I insisted that he be brought to the hospital. He'd become dehydrated.
What? Then what do you do?
Feed him intravenously. As I told Ross earlier, if I can keep the parents away long enough, I think we'll be able to help the young man.
I was wondering if Dr. Bowling had asked you...
No. I just happened to be here, as I've explained. Ross told me you'd been staying at the hospital the past few nights. I thought I should come up and talk with you.
Dr. Hewitt, you can't know how very glad I am that I was here tonight.
You look to me as though you need some rest, Mrs. White. You must have lost a lot of weight.
No, I'm all right, really I am. You see, I'm so very sure that what happened in Chucky's room a little while ago, his talking, his moving, it's the turning point.
Well, I suppose in a way it is.
I don't like the way you said that.
Well, I
don't. Ross, everything's all right, isn't it? Everything is all right.
Is everything all right, Dr. Bowling? Is Chucky out of the woods? Has the youngster regained consciousness? By the expression on your face, Dr. Bowling... Well, we'll learn more about this in a moment.
For white whitewashes without red hands, I've gone back to Duz.
Yes, for white whitewashes without red hands, the swing is back to Duz. Duz does everything in your wash and does right by your hands.
I didn't think about my hands when I started experimenting with some of those no-rinse chemicals, but that was my mistake. What a pair of hands I had. So now I'm back to Does. It's certainly true. Does gives me white washes without red hands.
Is a pair of red hands the price you're paying for doing your wash? Then next wash day, use Does. Inspect your wash carefully. Have you ever seen such dazzling whiteness, such thorough cleanliness, such brilliant colors? Have you ever seen all this with such wonderful care for your hands?
You'll get more out of Does because we put more into it. Only Does, of all leading wash day products, contain such great quantities of rich, real soap, combined with 2 active detergents. Only Does contains these quantities of rich, real soap, balanced with 2 active detergents.
That's why Does gets clothes so wonderfully clean and white, while it gives extra safety for colors and almost toilet soap mildness to hands. Does does everything. Get a box today, and you'll say it, too.
For white washes without red hands, I've gone back to Does.
Sit down, Mater. I want to talk to you. Would you rather I'd leave bowling? If you have the time, I'd prefer that you stay. Oh, yes, I can stay.
What is it, Ross?
Chucky had not regained consciousness.
But he was talking.
Yes, but
I don't understand.
you must have noticed how flushed he was.
Well, yes. I thought he was a little flushed. But isn't that normal, natural?
No. He's running a temperature. He's been running a little all day. I was looking for complications.
Complications? Ross, he distinctly looked at me and said, Mother. He kept on saying, afraid. And you, Dr. Hewitt, you heard him say, Daddy, go away. What am I doing? Trying to convince you or myself? What is it, Ross? What are these complications?
I'm not saying that the complications will necessarily be fatal, but we're confronted with something that's rather difficult to fight.
I can't believe it.
Chucky has been lying very quietly for some weeks now. You've noticed, no doubt, that the nurses changed his position at regular intervals.
Yes.
The reason for having given orders to change his position frequently was to avoid, if at all possible, a pneumonia.
Chucky doesn't have...
Yes, the bronchial pneumonia. That condition is a frequent one where there are head injuries, and particularly where a patient is unconscious for any length of time. Now, it isn't the kind of pneumonia that's the result of a germ or bacteria. It's the result of inactivity.
I can't believe it. Chucky was talking.
He's delirious.
Delirious. Did you know, Dr. Hewitt?
I suspected as much, Mrs. White. I didn't want you to be too hopeful.
But his words...
In delirium, Mrs. White, the subconscious continues to work, not the conscious. What you heard Chucky say, his being afraid, his calling for you, his not wanting to see his father, those were all thoughts that delirium gave voice to. Thoughts he wouldn't express if he were conscious. I don't think Chucky would ever admit that he was afraid.
No.
He would never tell his father to go away.
I didn't think he really felt that way about Ted.
Well, you knew he was afraid of his father. You yourself told me that when we talked together about Chucky. What neither of us knew was that down deep in that subconscious mind, he wanted you.
Chucky wanted me.
Yes. He hadn't really rejected you as you thought, and as I thought. He was afraid. Afraid of his father. Without knowing it, he knew that his father hadn't accepted you. And consciously, he didn't think he should. But we've learned differently this morning.
Then he's not conscious. He didn't know I was there. He didn't know that he was calling for me.
Mrs. White, you mustn't look at it that way. You've heard what you never heard from your son before, that he wanted you. And you know, if there is to be a future for you and Chucky, that he really wants you.
If there is to be a future for Chucky and me. Ross.
Yes, my dear.
You said that a pneumonia of this kind was difficult to fight.
It is. But we've already begun medication. We've put the miracle drugs to work.
What are his chances?
We're giving Chucky streptomycin, aureomycin.
What are his chances?
I don't know, Mater. I can't say.
You won't mind if I ask you something. You won't feel hurt.
Of course not. What is it?
Would it be advisable to call in another doctor?
Mrs. White, you know I'm sure that your son couldn't be in better hands than he is right now.
I just wondered, that's all. I just wondered.
If it'll make you feel any better, you know I'd do anything, Mater.
No, Ross. No, it's all right. I just wondered. That's all. May I go to Chucky now?
I'd rather you wouldn't. You can't help him. And you won't be helping yourself.
I want to be with him, Ross.
You might as well let her bowling.
Thank you, Dr. Hewitt.
I'll join you in a few minutes, Mater. Then I'm going to take you home.
Well, Bowling?
I was afraid of complications. I think I knew it was inevitable.
What are the youngster's chances?
Not too good. Not too good.
Every gal who's wash day wise buys her jug in the giant size.
And why not? Those giant economy-sized boxes are real money savers. Yes, and with Does, you get white washes without red hands. So listen, if your hands are suffering from one of those no-rinse chemicals on wash day, just you change to Does. See what a pleasure it is to get white washes without red hands.
Does can promise this because of the way Does is made. Only Does, of all leading wash day products, contains such great quantities of rich, real soap, combined with 2 active detergents.
That's why Does gets clothes so beautifully clean and white, while it gives extra safety to colors and almost toilet soap mildness to hands.
Does does everything in your wash and does right by your hands.
So join the swing to Does. Get a giant economy-sized box. You'll save money and always have plenty of Does on the shelf. Ted White is summoned to Selby Flats Hospital in the next dramatic episode of The Guiding Light, brought to you by Duz.
Put Duz in your washing machine. D-U-Z does everything.
This is Clayton Collier wishing you good day and good dozzing.